by your side. Cookieless tracking, a whole new realm explore. Predictive insights of never before. In lock control, that can keep its ocean. Segment streams, search for set the world in motion. Cross device tails, one tangled and more. Now clear day, new strategies born. A tornado in its way, dominance is green. Segment stream craft the tools that marketers need. From Google Cloud partnerships to insights that sing. Advising giants on how to auxiliary.
I think we should start now.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, today we're with Charlie. Charlie, is it correct?
Yeah, well, my French name is Charles-Antoine, but nobody can pronounce it, so I go by Charlie.
Charles-Antoine. Charlie, Charles-Antoine. Yeah. Is it French?
Yes, it's French. Come from Belgium initially.
Cool, cool. So maybe you can introduce yourself. I will introduce myself, and then we will announce the topics we're going to discuss today in this live stream.
Yeah, so I'm Charles-Antoine. I work for Oracle now as a Principal Data Strategist. So what I do is that I help marketing teams to optimize their campaign, creating insight, pulling the data together. And so before that, I was working in the financial industry. So the big advantage that I have is that I have a decade of experience in revenue optimization using correlation and pattern recognition. So there is a lot that can be done in marketing because the cookies are going away. And so this is like the great asset. And this is why I wanted to discuss with you two today, because I think we pretty align on a few things. And I'm looking forward to have the discussion with you.
Cool, cool. Thank you. My name is Constantine Yurevich, and I'm CEO and co-founder of SegmentStream. So we build AI-powered marketing analytics platform, and again, the platforms that is suitable for the cookieless world. And yeah, today we're gonna discuss all the challenges of multi-touch attribution. Also, we will discuss marketing mix modeling, and I believe we have different views on marketing mix modeling, and probably we can find some truth because Charlie, I know that you've mentioned that you work a lot with marketing mix modeling as a primary way to measure analytics. Am I right?
No, it's one of the things I look into. It's not the only one, but there are definitely things that other tools that you need, like incrementality testing, A/B testing. All of those tests are very important because yes, there are a few caveats with MMMs, of course. But it's very trendy at the moment with the cookies going away. A lot of people are looking into it. I think it's great. The concept is great. But there are just like limitation. I'm pretty sure that there are solutions that we can find to make it better.
Cool. So maybe you can share a little bit how you currently solve the issue with cookies and what you see probably when you build marketing analytics. What are the main challenges that you encounter?
So the main issue I see with cookies is that we don't have the touch point from the upper funnel, and so when you look at your touch point is mainly bottom of the funnel, and so it doesn't give you really like insight about what created the demand. A lot of your journey will be single touch. You'll see that a lot of the touch points, a lot of the revenue will be attributed to SEO direct, or even not attributed, or paid search. And so there is really a missing gap there. We have a few touch, but the problem is that you can't really make a decision with fractions of path because there are some important touch points that are missing. And the other thing also is that there's a lot of initiatives and that does not have any tracking. For example, Referral is a very strong channel for B2B, and multi-touch attribution can't get that. Where
when you say referral, is it like referral links, or is just verbal referrals?
Verbal referrals, Slack referrals, friends, colleagues, all of those ones. If you don't know if you heard about that Dropbox referral story, but they launched a very strong referral campaign, and in 15 months they increased their sign up by 3,900%. So referral is very strong, and unfortunately, I think today, because we so focus on performance marketing, we forget a few channels that are really working very well.
Cool. So it's very interesting because just today, our CRO had a meeting with a client, and they've shared that they have very interesting, they're working, I would say, more like in B2B, and they have, like any B2B company, they have this complex customer journey when they have part of, so when they do their marketing, on the other side, they have clients who make research. They find different solutions, and they find one, maybe 2, 3, 5 different solutions. They do proper research. They read all the articles. They research the website. And then finally, when they have the short list of the solutions they want to buy, they send links, probably using Slack or Teams, to the procurement department. And procurement department just goes to the website. They enter credit card, or they make direct debit, and they finally make a purchase. And in this particular case, it's a complex customer journey. Recently, I've made a newsletter where I've mentioned all the problems with multi-touch attribution and why the customer journey is very fractured. But I haven't mentioned this particular case when one person makes a research and actually interacts with advertising, while absolutely different person goes to the website and actually makes the purchase. So is it what you call referrals? Is it when someone else just goes to the website and makes the purchase while all the research was done by another person?
No, referral would be more like a friend recommending a tool. For example, in tech, what happens a lot is when somebody leaves for another job, like they want to install the programs they were using before. So that's kind of a referral too. In terms of what you say about what we call the buyer group, it's pretty common in tech, where you have the actual people using the tool that are going to do the first research, and then the project is going to be presented at the leadership. And but this is the great thing where I think MTA can be useful is on the demand conversion side. So really at the bottom of the funnel, when you start to see different signals from different people from the same company, you can start to detect pattern and see what company prospect is more likely to convert based on a few patterns you find out in your CRM. And then you can use that to prioritize the leads. And that helps that. And also you can see what initiative is never in those patterns. And so you can save money on the marketing side, but also on the sales side, because you reduce the workload on their side by just giving them the best leads.
But this happens only once you already acquire the lead. So once someone filled the form and you can already identify that this is a person from particular company, or from you have already email, you have some identificator. But I believe the huge portion of customer journey happens anonymously, when you don't even know who is coming to you. So you see a lot of traffic, you see a lot of ads that you buy in Google Ads, maybe using your Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, a lot, like you see traffic that is really engaged, like they browse your websites, they check your articles, they read about the pricing, they read about the features, but never convert. And then someone comes to the website out of the blue and just leaves a demo request or just makes a purchase. So I guess in B2B, this is really a huge problem. Probably it's also a problem in B2C when you have referrals. Like you have a family where your wife is looking for a beautiful dress and then sends you a WhatsApp link to buy it, and you just come and buy. But eventually advertising worked, like the target person was one person, while the purchase was done by another person. So how do you currently solve this referral problem?
So what we do is that the touches are indeed, as you said, is really on the demand conversion side. It's difficult to understand what happened on the top. But the one way that B2B can solve this is by having sales questionnaires, for example, on the first call. just asking, how did you hear about us?
Mhm.
What made you? Why do you want to buy now? What made you think about like contacting us? And those questions usually will help you to understand where the demand comes from.
But this probably works when you have certain amount of leads, but when you have thousands, probably this might not be very scalable.
When you have thousands of leads, yeah. Of course, Oracle sells big tools, so there is a big exchange and discussion. There's a very long discussion between the sales and the prospect. But for SaaS that sells product that you just log in and use, like Dropbox, for example, they probably don't have the time to call everybody to say how they heard about us. I would probably just use the self attribution form on a sign up.
You mean post-purchase service? So when you make an order, when you're making an order, you just select how did you hear about us?
Yeah, that's probably one way I would do it. I know it's not perfect.
Yeah, we use this ourselves. We found one issue with that is that in many cases our prospects, they just choose the first line. So we have like Google search, like social ads, blah blah blah, and they just choose the first thing because they don't want to waste time and they just don't take it seriously. And whatever we put on the first place in our drop-down list gets the most of answers. So this is what we've noticed. I don't know what was your experience in this particular case. So this is a huge bias of post-purchase survey. And of course, I know that some companies tackle this problem by mixing all the time, like what is the first answer, what is the second answer, but still it adds a lot of bias that sometimes it's very hard to trust this data because whatever you put first usually is selected by the customers who submit the form.
So yes, and usually it's affiliate because affiliates start with an A. There are solutions to that. So yes, I mean if you have a randomizer that gives the answers differently, that can help. It's going to be better than a fixed form. What you see is if you have a lot of answers, yes, there might be a few that are wrong, but sometimes like there are definitely like enough answers to make the difference between one that's working and one that's not. But ideally, it's a free text form is leave no bias, and then the user has to fill it in a way or another. And the user can't click the first option. I think that's the best one and the best option to take. I know it's always a bit more work for companies to set it up. So definitely, that's the ideal solution. But then you have the interim solution, which is having a randomizer that does not show the same answer at the top.
Yes, this idea with free form answer is a good one. Probably we need to incorporate this, but it works only for enterprise solutions where you don't have huge amount of leads, because if you have, like as I mentioned, thousands of leads or thousands of transactions, at some point you're going to need to synthesize all these answers and somehow analyze them and map them to your actual traffic sources, and it might be a lot of work.
It is not anymore with AI. No, but it's true. Like LLM models are very good at that. LLM models, so you just send your column with all the answers, and you can create. I did a test, and you could have one column with the type, and also another column extracting more specific details. So it's before you manually, if you have a lot of leads, yes, it's a bit draining. But now with AI, it's actually a very simple script.
So you just create a set of different channels that you want to understand, and then you just map all the free-form answers to these predefined channels that you want to analyze.
Yeah, that's how I did. I did a test, and that's how I did it. Yeah.
Another problem that we've had personally when we analyze post-purchase surveys is that we put answers like, how did you hear about us? And we have Google search. but there are also like it can be Google organic search, it can be Google paid search, it can be Google brand search, and in many cases, of course, we are already biased because we work in marketing analytics and we know clear differentiation between paid search and organic search. But like normal user who is not in marketing, who is not biased, for them it's all just Google. So they don't make the difference between paid search or organic search or brand search. So how did you hear about like Google search? But we need to understand whether it was paid search or whether it was organic or whether it was brand search. How to tackle this issue?
So normally it shouldn't be brand search because that's, if it's brand search, the person knew the name of the company already. But I agree with you. They could be SEO or SEM. Yeah, I mean, you can put both. I know that's a bit of the difficulty too with when you have lists, is that you also don't want to have too many. Again, so, and I think that's a problem actually. I'm thinking about it, because definitely somebody, if you put a free text, for example, somebody will just write Google.
They're gonna write Google, and you never know what it was actually.
Yeah, so it's not going. I've never thought about that before. So it's not going to work in any cases, unless for free text, or so you can use a drop down and you have all the detailed. But the great thing I've noticed with free text, with self-attribution, my brother has a recruitment company, and he implemented that. And for the referral, he had the specific name of the people. Very often, people referral would share, I talked to this CEO, I talked to that person, and then he was able to contact the person who referred.
Yeah. So yeah, with referral, when it's like, in this case, it's more like a free channel. It's okay, but when it comes to paid channels, when I want to understand how, because usually like I usually make a clear line between like pseudo free channels and paid channels. And of course, like when we dig into the details, of course, organic is not free. Of course, you pay for SEO. A lot of work should be done. You need to hire SEO specialists. You need to hire specialists who do email marketing. So it's not completely free, but at scale, when company invests like $1 million in paid advertising a month, or 5 million, at some point these channels become free, in the sense that when you compare it to channels where you really invest millions of dollars, you can neglect these channels, and you can, like, it doesn't matter. You cannot scale them indefinitely. You cannot put another $1 million into SEO and make SEO 10 times or 20 times better, comparing to paid marketing where you invest additional $1 million and you can really feel the difference. So in my opinion, we love post-purchase service, but we never use them as a primary source of analysis of where our prospects coming from and where should we relocate money. We use it as a method of calibration of our primary attribution model. So we still compare and we see how it can be calibrated, but we don't use it as a single source of truth, because it still has a lot of bias built into this by design. For example, one of our clients, they have post-purchase survey and they have different choices. They have TikTok, they have Instagram, and they also have influencers.
Yeah, that's a bit of the issue with.
Yeah, so they invest a lot of money into Instagram. They invest a lot of money in TikTok, but they also buy a lot of traffic from influencers who actually advertise their product on Instagram and TikTok. And when someone comes from influencer, what they choose like TikTok or they choose Instagram, but they don't choose influencer. So this is also, so I feels like this measurement solution is nice in a way to see some other perspective on your leads, where your traffic is coming from, but sometimes the bias can be just built into this approach by design.
Ideally, you can you can link the survey with the lead and see what does the last click attribution say, and then you can compare. I mean, that could be maybe a solution for influencers, because there's always a URL with the influencer. Well, and if the user, of course, click on the link and that doesn't go online. Yes, yeah, it's not perfect, but I'm very intrigued here to hear your thought about MMM.
About MMM.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I talk a lot about MMM in my posts on LinkedIn. So actually, so to make a good MMM model, yeah. So I definitely believe that MMM is an amazing tool. As I've mentioned to you before, the only issue with this tool is I call it utopian. And why I call it utopian? Because like in a perfect world, it works quite fine for any company that invests like millions of dollars in advertising and can see all these correlations and patterns, etc. The biggest problem that to build an accurate MMM model, you require so much data. And what I see in the market, that for many companies, even stitching like cost data with behavioral data on the website and CRM data is already a huge challenge. So there are so many companies that cannot even put their data together, even in a simple, I don't know, last click attribution when it comes to connecting CRM and all the cost data. So pulling everything together in a unified marketing dashboard. And when it comes to MMM, it's actually funny. I decided to ask ChatGPT about like which data is required to make a comprehensive MMM model for an average e-commerce website. And this is what ChatGPT answered. So first of all, you need all your sales data, like daily, weekly sales figures, revenue and profit margins, units sold. Then you need, of course, marketing spend, whenever you spend it, TV, digital advertising, social media, etc. Then you need media data, impressions, click conversions, reach, frequency metric, engagement metrics like likes, shares, comments, etc. Then you need customer data, like customer demographics, age, gender, location, then purchase behavior, frequency, recency, blah, 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 blah. Then you need your promotional data. So when you have an e-commerce website, sometimes you launch discounts, sometimes you launch promotional offers, sometimes you need to track all your coupon usage and redemption rates. You need to track all your seasonal or special event promotions. Then you need the hardest one. Then you need to have competitive data. You need to understand your market share data. You need to analyze your competitor pricing and competitor promotions, because whenever competitor launches their own promotion, it influences your sales. Then you need to have all the industry trends. You need to have external factors like economic indicators, GDP, inflation, unemployment rate, weather data for seasonal products, public holidays and events. You need to have, of course, information about your traffic sources, volumes, page views, session duration, bounce rate, conversion rate. You need to have information about your product data, including your inventory levels, because there are so many research that your inventory data and how many stock units you have on a website hugely influences your conversion rate and sales and efficiency of your advertising. Then you need to have product availability and stock outs, and you need to have data about all the new product launches, because new product launches usually boost sales. Then you, of course, need some customer feedback, reviews, ratings, net promotion scores, customer service interactions, and many, many more. And all these data points you need to have in a proper structured way for at least last 2 years. And now the question is how easy it is for average e-commerce company to gather this data for the last 2 years in a proper structured way, without any holes, without any pitfalls, without any human errors. And after that, build a comprehensive marketing mix modeling. And then all of this is going to be ruined once microeconomic conditions or new competitors appears, or some external factors change, like coronavirus, or like wars that we have all the time, or something new appears, or another crisis. So my honest opinion about marketing mix modeling, it's an amazing tool. Unfortunately, it's quite utopian in a way that it's probably it's a good solution for someone who doesn't have any other technology at hand, especially for FMCG brands who cannot directly control the inventory. They cannot control, they usually don't sell directly, they sell through the distribution networks, and the only thing they have is how much budget they invest, and they have a lot of data about external factors. But for average e-commerce or D2C brand, it sounds like something impossible to implement. I don't know. What do you think about this?
So you start with spend and revenue. That's the simplest MMM, and then you have to find out what is the most important. So all of what you mentioned can be included in MMM, but that you don't necessarily maybe have to put them all. Although I would agree that if you start into measurements, you have to master incrementality uplift test first, because the reason is because the MMM is going to give you hypothesis. It's not going to give you the final answer. It's a correlation model. It's not a causation model. So you'll have to test what the MMM says anyway. So I would say that MMM is not the first step in your measurement journey. First, manage your experimentation, manage your uplift, understand how these tools work. And because also in a lot of time you need those tools to calibrate your MMM. And then once you have mastered that part, you can start to consider MMM. That's my point of view. My second point of view is that it's true that it's a bit slow to react. We use usually like 2 years of data. Things can change drastically in 2 years, and so it's not super reactive, I believe. I think one way we can solve that is to look into site action. For example, if you're an e-com, you would look at your unbound traffic, the people visiting your product page, the people adding to cart, and so you'll have to, and so you'll because by adding those additional steps, you'll be able to have a model which is way more reactive, because there are also and even more when you have a lagging big lag time between the moment the user starts to interact with your website and the moment the user buys. This is that's dividing that funnel into multiple steps can help.
Yeah, but another thing about MMM is that so most of the e-commerce websites that we see, they have ongoing campaigns usually. So they just launch, I don't know, Performance Max or shopping campaigns or Facebook dynamic campaigns based on product feeds, and they have these campaigns running ongoing. So it's running all the time. It's not some flight campaign that they just like you launch a huge TV advertising and you invest like $1 million into this TV ads, and then you see some correlation and spike in revenue. In most cases, most of the e-commerce website, they just have ongoing campaigns that are running. And the problem with MMM that if you have something ongoing, and if you have many different activities coming and which are launched the same time in parallel, it can be very, very hard to understand which campaign exactly made an impact. So you just have this ongoing, like you invest $5 million a month across all different channels, across all different campaigns, across shopping, dynamic campaigns, etc. But you don't have any huge spike or differentiation in spend. So, and this is also a huge problem for e-commerce websites, because of course, if today you decided to allocate $5 million in TV ads and see how it works, and next month you take all this money and allocate to Google ads, and next month you take all this money and allocate in paid social, probably you will be able to see the correlation taken into account. All other variables are taken into account. But if you have ongoing campaigns, how you're going to see the difference?
So yes, it's what we call the multicollinearity effect. You want, and that's a weakness of the MMM, but it's also a weakness of any measurements. Because if you have multiple, for example, if you do an experimentation, if you do a lift test, you gotta move that budget to be able to define your response curve and your diminishing returns.
Yeah, but in this case, for example, imagine I invest in 5 different channels.
Yeah.
On ongoing basis, and then I decide to run a geo-based incrementality test. So in some particular region, I just switch off my Facebook ads, and everything else remains the same. So I will be able to see that in this particular region, my revenue dropped, and I can clearly see that incrementality of Facebook. Of course, not always I can clearly see. It depends on the amount of the data. Sometimes in most of the incrementality tests that we launch using our platform, we see that in many cases, minimal visible effect is around 10%. So if, for example, Facebook contributes to less than 10% of your overall revenue from a particular region, you won't be even able to see the difference. But at least you can run this for 2-3 weeks, and you will clearly, like, with statistical significance, because in this case, it's not a correlation anymore, it's causation. It's you applied this invasive method, you switched off ads, and for some clients, it's not applicable because they don't want to switch off ads in particular regions because they might lose revenue. But even if they decide to do this for the purpose of understanding their data, it's still a statistically significant method. While with marketing mix modeling, imagine exactly the same case, but if you just switch some fraction of ads in particular region, it won't be visible again.
Well, so the model, I mean, if you fluctuate the spend, the model should pick it up. Obviously, if you fluctuate the space just once and you look at over 2 years, the model might not consider that as significant. But now you can integrate experimentation result into an MMM. That's the solution that we using today, which is not always perfect because, for example, you can have marketing initiatives that have a higher ROAS at a certain month than another one, and so when you do the experimentation and then you push that into the MMM, you assume that the result of your experimentation is the same of the whole 2 years. That's one of the issue.
Yeah. Also, what we've noticed when we upload, you've mentioned that you can start with just spend data and revenue data, maybe some impressions, something else. It might be enough. So we've tested a lot with just this because it's very easy. You can just download the data from your advertising platforms. You can download your CRM data about the revenues. So MMM really showed quite random numbers. But even more interesting is sometimes they show multiple solutions. So they say, okay, we found solutions, but we found multiple solutions. So option 1 is this. Like probably your Facebook brings you 40% of revenue and Google 20% of revenue. But option 2 is that Google brings you 20% of revenue or Facebook brings you 20% of revenue. So they give the set of solutions and the MMM doesn't. So we applied like Robin and other open source libraries, and they said, okay, you can choose which options you prefer. But actually, I don't want to prefer some option. I want to know the truth.
It is true that yes, and you have some companies specialized in MMM who are going to help you to build like a very strong model to avoid those different options, which come with a cost. There's a bit of the problem with MMM is that you have a lot of open source tool available, but you need, as you explained earlier, you need like really a deep knowledge of it to be able to use it. And so it's always, the fact that it's open source doesn't mean it's cheap, because you have to go through a company who's going to assist you doing this, or you have to find a person who really knows what we have to do to make this work.
Yeah. But even if you find a person, if you find a really good data scientist, like with LLM right now, like Facebook launched open source LLM, and like very soon, really big LLM model is going to be available for anyone who want to use it. But the biggest problem is the data. So yes, the model is amazing. It's great. Like it has and I believe open source models for MMM are quite great. But the question is, do you have a proper structured data for the last like 2 years to feed in, besides just spend and revenue? And this is usually the biggest issue, that most of the companies don't have the data accumulated over the last 2 years.
No, I completely agree. It's not something that is accessible to everybody.
Yeah, and in your experience, like what budget do you need to have, like monthly budget or annual budget to apply MMM in your experience?
I don't know. I don't know if the founder of Recast once gave a number which was pretty high. But I'm not knowledgeable enough to be able to define the number. But yes, it's usually for the big firms. But again, as I said, like there's plenty of stuff we can do with experimentation, which can lead to so it will. If you use only experimentation and Uplift, you don't have like an overall view of things, but you still have an idea of what's working and what's not, and on which side to spend. And so for all the companies, because based on what I've heard, like it's easily 10K a month for an MMM if you work with like one of the big firms. And so it's if you don't have millions in marketing, it's not worth it. So but the reality is that if you really master experimentation, Uplift test, you can get a lot of the answers that the MMM is supposed to give you.
Yeah. So like what we usually do. So I'm a huge believer in experimentality tests, like in incrementality tests. The only issue about incrementality tests is that you cannot have it ongoing, because it's still a highly invasive method, and you cannot switch on, switch off ads in different regions all the time around the year. So you can do this once, for example, to understand whether your Facebook ads are incremental, whether your retargeting campaigns are incremental, whether your paid search is incremental or YouTube campaigns are incremental. But once you've done it, like, okay, I've acquired this knowledge, how can I apply this knowledge? And like what we prefer to do at SegmentStream, we use incrementality tests as well as post-purchase surveys for the purpose of calibration of the primary attribution method. So attribution is something that you can use on a daily basis. So have you heard about single session analytics, single session attribution?
Can you? I'm not sure. Can you tell me?
Yeah. So that's actually the methodology that is embedded in SegmentStream platform, and that we use as a primary methodology for marketing analytics. So right now, it's very hard to stitch the whole customer journey. So you've mentioned problem with referrals, when someone makes a decision while another person makes a purchase. But there are also many other different problems, like cross-device, cross-browser, in-app browsers, a huge problem on mobile device when like Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, any major social platform has their own in-app browser. And the problem is that they have their own set of cookies. Once you switch to another browser, you lose everything, and you just see your traffic like direct none, and you have new session initiated in Google Analytics. And also problems with private browsing, with GDPR. For some of our clients, we see that up to 50% of visitors reject cookies, and nothing is tracked at all. So there are so many problems with stitching customer journey. So the fact is, and I've shared it in my newsletter, that I believe that essentially it's impossible to know the full customer journey from the first touch point with your brand, from the first interaction till the final purchase. So if it's not possible to see the full customer journey, what if we're gonna shift our perspective, and instead of analyzing this whole customer journey, which is no longer possible to analyze, instead we're gonna analyze each single visit. So imagine, like with your example with referrals, that some person makes a decision while send the link using WhatsApp to a friend who eventually makes a purchase. So we have two distinct visits. So first visit comes from the person who clicked on the ad, and they click on the ad, they come to the website, they apply some filters, they search for the product, they choose the size, they choose availability, they read reviews, they do a lot of stuff on the website. This session is actually quite valuable, and we can monitor all the small micro conversions, and based on the interaction with the website, we can make a distinguishment whether this session was valuable or not, and build our own scoring model to score every single visit. And imagine our scoring model defines that this visit was valuable, and we assign a score from 0 to 1, where 1 is, of course, when we assign the whole purchase to this visit, but usually this is not the case because most of these visits do not end up with a conversion. So someone comes to the website, makes a lot of actions on the website, and we assign 0.6 for this visit. Like the contribution into conversion is like 60%. While then this person sends a link to using WhatsApp to a friend, and friend comes to the website and finally makes a purchase. And we assign 0.4, for example, for another interaction. So this way, for every single session, for every single visit, at the end of this visit, we assign a score and a monetary value, depending on the predicted value, depending on the predicted conversion. But we never know whether this particular visitor, anonymous visitor, gonna come again, or whether this particular visitor gonna come again from another device or browser, because it's just impossible to understand. But what we found out that this approach, so it's just a model, of course, we never know. Like we can assign 0.6, but in reality, this user might never come back from any device and might not send any link to the friend and might never buy. So this can be bias as well. But what we've noticed that when we apply this scoring technology for every single session, and then check and because after all, we want to check whether this is accurate or not. Then we run incrementality tests and compare the incrementality of Facebook measured by the incrementality test and incrementality based on the scores that we assign to every single session. We see that it is much, much, much closer to reality comparing to any other attribution model that we've seen so far. So, and then once we run incrementality test, we can fine tune it a little bit. So okay, looks like our model is not 100% accurate. Let's fine tune, let's assign a little bit more value when we see this particular pattern of activity on the website. So what we care about is only activity and actually micro conversions on the website that we feed into the model to make this AI-based scoring.
Yeah, it's really, it's the leveraging what we call the first party cookie, if I may.
I would say it's leveraging of first party behavioral data. So because we know that at least within one session, we won't lose anything. Because yes, next session can start with different device, with different browser. It can start by a different user decision maker, but at least this one single session is something that we can measure very, very accurately, and it can be stitched to the initial traffic source with very high precision. Whatever happens in next sessions, we don't know, but for this particular session, we can know this for sure.
I think it's brilliant because if you see what happens with that, there has been a lot of headlines recently about the clicks. There's a lot of channels that have like misled the real number of clicks, or they were driven by bots, and so And so I think it's brilliant because we have to find a way to make the difference between what is a good click and what is not a good click. And the way you presenting, is one way we can do that.
Yeah. And actually, it was a very funny story when we had a client who had a lot of bot traffic. And bot traffic, they actually clicks on your ads, but they don't do anything. Or sometimes they even do fake transactions. But they do it quite fast. So it's done fully using automation. They just go to the product page, add product to cart, make a fake transaction, and that's it. And it was very funny that based on the customer behavior, when these bots were compared to real users, like very, very small like score was assigned to such sessions, even comparing to last click attribution, where like real conversion was assigned to this traffic and it was sent back to Google and Facebook was buying more and more of this bot traffic. And another funny situation was with affiliate, when probably you know that a lot of affiliate websites, they propose coupon codes, affiliate partners, they propose coupon codes that are applied during the checkout process. And sometimes there are special toolbars in Google Chrome where you come to the website and toolbar immediately shows you the coupon code that you can apply. And what they do, when you apply this coupon code, they replace your UTM parameters. And when initial traffic source was actually Google search, when you apply a coupon code, UTM parameters change to some affiliate who actually didn't contribute to this purchase, and probably on the contrary, sometimes even stole a fraction of your revenue by applying the coupon code. And last click attributes all the value to this coupon code affiliates, while machine learning that makes a proper scoring based on first-party behavioral data attributes almost zero to this kind of sessions. It's very, very funny.
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant way. We'll have to go, but it was great to chat with you. I really enjoyed that conversation.
Cool. I hope this was valuable for those who were listening, and thank you very much for taking the time and discussing these important topics.
Amazing. See you soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.